this was the best that they could come up with? Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 movie endings that made fans rage quit.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos.
For this list, we're looking at movie endings that severely alienated their fan bases. We'll be limiting ourselves to films that are part of an established franchise or based on an existing property. There will be spoilers on the way, so consider this your warning. Number 10, Fantastic Four. There's nothing quite like watching a bad movie trying to set up for a sequel. Fans and critics alike had many problems with Fox's second stab at creating the famous Marvel team, most of which had to do with dialogue, characterization, and the film's villain.
Enough! When your world is destroyed, and I'm all that's left, then it will be enough.
But a worthwhile ending could have given audiences a glimmer of hope and something to look forward to. However, that's not what happened.
Now! Alright! It's clobbering time!
After an underwhelming CGI battle, complete with a giant light beam in the sky, the team returned to their dimension to soak in the glory. Their forced and cheesy camaraderie is bad enough, and the lack of chemistry between the leads just makes it worse.
It's fantastic. Yes, it is.
Number 9, War of the Worlds. This action sci-fi film was eagerly anticipated by fans of H.G. Wells' classic novel, first adapted for the screen in 1953. And the relentless onslaught of the big bad alien starts out promisingly enough. However, when they're suddenly killed off by germs, it brings the climax to a screeching halt.
Claire!
Oh, keep it back, come on.
To top it off, the movie inexplicably has the hero's teenage son show up after seemingly dying earlier on. Even Spielberg himself doesn't like how the film wraps up, stating, quote, "I never could figure out how to end that darn thing." While the ending is similar to the book, there are some things that just work better on paper.
From the moment the invaders arrived, breathed our air, ate, and drank, they were doomed.
Number 8, The Dark Knight Rises. Some fans had problems with the entirety of the third act in Christopher Nolan's Batman finale. And while those are valid concerns, it's the last shot that brings up the most issues. After Bruce sacrifices himself to save Gotham City, Alfred takes a well-earned vacation to Florence. It's there that he spots the very much alive Bruce having lunch and gives him a knowing smile. It's a nice callback to an earlier scene, but it completely falls apart once you think about it. How did Bruce survive? And isn't it entirely improbable that they would be at that restaurant on that specific day and that specific time? We know it feels more cinematic, but it still doesn't make any sense.
I'm so sorry. I failed you.
Number 7, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yeah, the aliens. Indiana Jones was never a stranger to supernatural forces, having encountered face-melting arcs and chalice-guarding ghosts. But when it came to introducing aliens to the franchise, it was a bit too much for some to handle. After finally reaching the hidden chamber, the adventurers return the crystal skull to its skeleton and bring the aliens to life.
Cover it!
This event conveniently leads to the death of the villains, and the heroes are able to escape. While Indy had dealt with the strange and bizarre in the past, they were all steeped in the history of this world. And for many fans, the aliens just didn't fit with this universe.
Where did they go? Space?
Not into space. Into the space between spaces.
Number 6, The Mist. Fans of Stephen King's chilling novella probably went into this expecting the same ending, but they were sadly mistaken.
For once.
There's 5 of us.
After being trapped in a grocery store by horrifying creatures shrouded in mist, David is able to escape with his son and 3 others. But with no gas and only 4 bullets, he decides to shoot them to save them from a monstrous fate. He does so only to have the military show up moments later to rescue them. While the novella is still bleak, it at least ends with a silver lining, having David and the group traveling into an unknown future in search of safety. But this is just mean, and many moviegoers felt cheated. Number 5, I Am Legend. Based on Richard Matheson's 1954 novel, this film featuring Will Smith was actually the third time the book had been adapted. Dr. Robert Neville spends his time capturing and experimenting on the vampiric Darkseekers in search of a cure. The theatrical ending has Neville sacrifice himself with a grenade to save Anna, Ethan, and the cure. But in the alternate ending, which is more in line with the spirit of the book, he learns that the Darkseekers are only attacking Neville because he's killing them off, and want to protect their own. To them, he's the monster.
I'm sorry.
Many fans felt that the theatrical ending was formulaic, added just so the movie could end on a bang. Number 4. Star Wars Episode 8: The Last Jedi. Fear leads to hate, and hate leads to anger, but so does a disappointing ending. The infamous conclusion to The Last Jedi divided fans, and had some slamming Disney as the franchise's dark side. They criticized several aspects of Luke's characterization, but what truly enraged them was how his story ended. With Kylo Ren and his forces bearing down on the heroes, Luke showed up just in time to distract his former Padawan.
Did you come back to say you forgive me? To save my soul?
No.
The Force projection is a neat trick, but also results in the hero's demise. Many fans argued that this death was anticlimactic, and would have had a much greater impact had he actually joined the fight in person. Number 3. Superman. The very first Superman movie was a hit in 1978, and showed for the first time that comic books could be made into successful films. But while the movie was well received overall, the ending was truly baffling, as has been pointed out ad nauseum since. With Lois dead from an earthquake, Superman flies around the planet in order to reverse time and save her. Regardless of the fact that that just wouldn't work, and would instead cause more destruction, this was never an ability Superman possessed in the comics. It made no sense, and made Superman so powerful he could just rewrite history.
Hi. Don't bother, I think it's dead.
Number 2. Planet of the Apes. Rebooting a classic is always going to be tough, especially one with such an iconic ending. In the 1968 film, Charlton Heston's character discovers that the titular planet is really Earth, far in the future.
God damn you all to hell!
Tim Burton's adaptation tried to rival this with a new shocking twist that makes no sense whatsoever. After defeating General Thade, Mark Wahlberg's Leo escapes Ashlar to return to Earth, only to find that the Lincoln Memorial is now for General Thade. He traveled back to his own time from the year 5021. So why is there a monument to Thade? Why have apes replaced humans? This ridiculous ending is now infamous, giving 20th Century Fox good reason to reboot the franchise a decade later. Before we unveil our top pick, here are some dishonorable mentions.
Game over.
Boy, you returned for me.
Winter has come at last.
You want me to come down there so you can kill me?
Yes!
I'll be right there.
There's no place like home.
Number 1. The Matrix Revolutions. One surefire way to disappoint fans is to completely confuse them, which is exactly what the Wachowski siblings did with this final installment.
Is it over?
There are heroic moments like Neo defeating Agent Smith and the citizens of Zion celebrating the end of the war, but the film closes on more questions than answers. With Neo's sacrifice, the machines take his body, but what will they do with it? Why does the Oracle feel that they'll see him again? And what about the rest of humanity, still plugged into the Matrix? Sadly, none of these would be answered, and a franchise that started with one of the most renowned sci-fi films of all time would end in a muddled mess.
Will we ever see him again? I suspect so. Someday.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.